My biggest surprise was Italy, particularly
Yes.
on the sprint side. Uh, Marcell Jacobs, listen, some people had heard of him. Some people knew more than others. Maybe people knew him as a long jumper. Maybe people knew him as the European indoor 60-meter champion. But even in all those Diamond Leagues, those Diamond League appearances that he ran, he did not really ever jump out as, hey, this guy could get the gold. Maybe you could say he's going to sneak on to the podium. And then even after the rounds, he looked good in the rounds, but there were other people who looked better than him in the rounds. Didn't even win his heat, but came out with the perfect race at the perfect time to get gold. If I told you that top two of Jacobs and Curley in the men's 100 at the beginning of the year, you would have been really confused what I was talking about and what event, what sport. Like you wouldn't have even known. You'd have been so confused as to what someone was predicting because one guy wasn't even in the event and the other guy was basically a non-factor in the event. He hadn't even broke 10 seconds, and then he runs 9.8 at the right time to get gold. And then at the end of the meet, 4x1s are unpredictable. Yeah, US isn't in there, but still a lot of things had to go right, and there were still some solid teams in the final. And then they collab to win the 4x1 and win the when the team that wins a 4x1 has the fastest guy from the meet in the 100. You don't look at it as, okay, well, they just had good handoffs and it was a fluke and other people out of it. You look at it as, hey, they earned it. They had both parts down. They had the technical aspects of getting the stick around, but they also had the speed. And we saw Tortu on the anchor leg run down Great Britain. So yeah, they didn't have 4 legs of guys who were sub 990, but they had one superstar, another really solid guy, and then 2 other pieces that made it work, and they got that win by 1/100th of a second. So my biggest surprise overall was the Italian men's sprint development here, the phenomenon, the revolution going on.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at progression of season's best. So in the 100, Fred Curley's PB before 2021 in the 100 was
Mm-hmm.
10:49 from 2015. 10:49. And Jacobs' PB before 2021 was
10:02, I think.
10:03. 10:03.
Oh, so my apologies.
So so I think this has got to be the first time in history
Yeah.
that the 1-2 finishers at the Olympic Games never broke 10 before that year. Right? It's
In the
wild.
modern
It
era,
just
sure.
shows
Yeah.
it shows that there's something different about the way these guys were training, how they were able to put in like clearly Fred Curley wasn't trying to win the 100-meter dash until this year, basically. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. He wasn't a 10:49 guy going into this year. He clearly was faster. He just never did it in a track meet with the automatic timing. But it does show that like we've talked about this, the diverse of talent, not the diverse of talent. What's the word? The ability to go from this one event to another. You know, you see what Safan Hassan doing 800 all the way up to 10K, maybe even marathon
Mm-hmm.
one day. Now I see Fred Curley. He'd be like, hey, he can handle the 100 all the way up to the 400. Michael Norman ran a fast 100 to 400. You're seeing a thing Mo 400 to 800. This thing we're going to see more and more of these bigger ranges of athletes and not just only focused on your one event, which is a
Yeah.
cool trend that will make the sport more fun, right? Because then you see more matches, you see more double attempts. It'll be a little more exciting. So
Yeah, I think what people are doing and thinking about is, hey, I'm good. I'm an all-around athlete. I'm not just a 400-meter runner, or I'm not just a 100-meter runner. I'm not just a 5,000-meter
long
runner.
jumper.
I can stretch. Long jumper. I can stretch my range into other events. And Italy, yeah, they got a couple race walk golds there too, and of course they got Tim Berry's gold. So they end up with 5 gold medals, which was number 2 to the U.S., only 2 behind them, and ahead of a lot of nations that we're accustomed to seeing rack up a bunch of gold medals. They were 5 for 5. All their medals were gold. On the negative side of things, because you had a negative surprise and I had a positive surprise. Negative surprise. My biggest surprise. I went back and I looked. Remember, I did medal chances of a medal for Americans in every single event. The two highest that didn't get a medal, so I would count these as my biggest surprises, were women's hammer, where I had, I think, 95% or 90% chance of the women's hammer producing at least one medal, and the men's 400. Those were the two that I had the highest that didn't ultimately produce a medal.